Hello and welcome back to the Wash Ups podcast. Jackson Wolf here,
Garrett Collins here.
and we're excited for this podcast. I feel like we're growing. I feel like we're growing a little bit. We're growing on some people.
Still a little rust needs to be kicked off, but
Yeah, we got a ways to go.
if y'all would give us some shout outs every now and again,
Yeah. Spread the
nice.
word.
Absolutely.
Spread the word. So about this fight this weekend, let's get into that. Fury Wilder.
We called it.
We did call it. Fury won, of course. I mean,
Absolutely took it to him.
the Wash Ups podcast predictions are always correct.
For the most part, yeah.
Almost always correct.
We're like a 90-something% when it comes to predictions.
Basically.
I'd say.
Fury whooped his ass the whole night.
I mean, all 7 rounds.
Wilder just couldn't handle it. He couldn't handle the hype, couldn't handle the pressure. Needed to back out. He shouldn't have even stepped in the ring, if you want me to be honest with you.
He wasn't under his feet at all the entire fight. In the clinch half the time. Just really couldn't get any power behind his legs to really make it a fair fight. And Fury took advantage of that. He took his boxing skills because they're obviously more elite than Wilder's. And he just took it to him. He said he wasn't going to sit back like he did the fight before and put his hands behind his back. And he was going to take it to him, and that's what happened. And came out with a good result.
Yeah, he went out and attacked him from the very beginning, and that was big for him. He said he was going to knock him out in 2 rounds. It ended up being a 7. Did you hear the excuse that Wilder made about why he lost the fight?
So that was kind of ridiculous. Let's try and tell him about it, and I'll bring up the picture.
So came in this big Black History Month tribute costume.
That apparently weighed 40 pounds.
40-pound costume.
Why would you wear a 40-pound costume
You know what's
to go?
stupid is that he tried it on the night before and still wore it. Apparently, it didn't feel as heavy the night before.
Well, first off, just looking at this thing, I don't know what it was trying to be. I don't get the whole Black History Month thing.
I guess just because it was
Dude
all
looks
black.
like should be a villain in Power Rangers, bro.
He really does.
I mean,
Cosplay gone wrong.
Look out for the next DLC for Street Fighter. This dude is gonna be on it.
It's not going to be Deontay Wilder. It's going to be Deontay Wilder in his costume. That's what it's going to be. That's what his name's going to be in the game, in Street Fighter.
40-pound costume.
Yeah. That's crazy. That's great. Look, his eyes are glowing red and everything. I'm surprised he didn't make up the excuse that his eyes were red because of the light from the glowing of the mask. That would be a better excuse than the 40-pound. 40 pounds
What the hell
is
this?
It's terrible.
He looks like it's not Comic-Con. Why the hell is he wearing them?
He looks like one of the Knights of Ni from Holy Grail, from Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
For real.
That's hilarious.
Fury's wasn't much better, but it didn't weigh him down.
God.
Ugh.
Yeah,
But
Fury
still-
got carried in.
But still, using that as an excuse is just ridiculous.
But yeah, Fury beat him up, whole fight. Deontay Wilder didn't stand a chance.
Not at all. He looked absolutely helpless out there, and eventually in the 7th round, his corner threw in the towel.
Which needed to be thrown maybe 2 rounds
It needed
before.
to be thrown, but then of course you get Wilder worked up a little bit, and Wild goes out and explains that the towel should have never been thrown, which is absolutely ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
And he said he told his trainers ahead of the fight that no matter how it looked on the outside, he said he was going to kill this man in the ring. Obviously that didn't happen, but that his trainers made an emotional decision by throwing in the fight, even though he stood no chance.
It's not emotional, it's logical.
Dude's ear was busted open.
100% logical explanation of why they threw in the towel. He was getting beat up. He was taking shots to the head the whole fight. I mean, it was just... really, the towel could have been thrown in. I think it could have been thrown in 2 rounds before.
His excuse was that when you have power like me, you're never out the fight, but you had been dropped 2 times already.
Exactly.
I mean, Jesus.
Exactly.
going up from there. I mean, it was going.
You would have had a lot of ground. You would have had to have a lot of ground to make up if you were to do that. And with taking all those hits, I don't think he really stood a chance. Which we called it though. I called it. I didn't.
I did as well.
I was saying power ain't everything. It's a lot, but it's not everything. Tyson Fury is a more superior boxer, and he proved that on Saturday.
All right, so Tyson Fury moves to 31-0, and Deontay Wilder moves to 42-1-1, making Tyson Fury the best heavyweight or the top heavyweight in the world.
Yep. I think Anthony Joshua is going to be next.
That's what they're saying. However, I just don't see Anthony Joshua being able to step up to the plate. I was listening to the Pat McAfee podcast.
Okay.
And he had a little clip where it showed Tyson Fury's father making a remark on the fight. And it was absolutely incredible. He's like, Anthony Joshua doesn't want anything to do with the fucking with the
Gypsy King.
He's like, with the fucking Gypsy King. He's like, he'll fucking put him on his ace. And just stuff like that, man. It was funny. Definitely, y'all should definitely look into that. It was a hilarious interview. And the thing about this dude, like Pat McAfee was saying, is that this dude apparently predicts the fights. And he's like an oracle. I mean, he hasn't skipped a beat. I mean, he's been on point pretty much every time when it comes to these fights. So it's something to just check out and have a little laugh about.
Yeah.
But
one quick thing, another thing that happened this weekend, Joey Logano won the NASCAR Cup in Los Angeles. Shout out to him. Or not Los Angeles, Las Vegas. It's a big win for him. Gets him some more points in the NASCAR race, or NASCAR Cup Series race. But now, we can move on to some NFL free agency.
Just some pressing things that have started to come about in the NFL. We'll first get into the CBA.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
explain it to our viewers.
It's not as big as we saw in 2011 with the lockout, which was the largest lockout in NFL history. All right. So just to get into what a CBA is, for those that don't understand, originally it's the collective bargaining agreement, which is a labor agreement or a labor law that reflects the result of collective bargaining negotiations between the Players Association and the team owners. Some of the stuff it includes is distribution of league revenue. It sets health and safety standards and then establishes benefits for players. The first one was held in 1968 because the players went on strike and wanted increased pay and salary benefits. Mm-hmm. Later, we had some about through the 80s and early 90s, and then 2006 is the injury grievance, guaranteed revenue percentages, free agency stuff. And then we also had the 2011 one.
Yeah, the holdout.
Which
lockout.
Actually needed court mediation. And the NFLPA, which is Players Association, reinstituted the union agreement, which helped them out for this upcoming one. Anyways, so we're now in 2020. We just got a new CBA proposal. And what it calls for a 17-game regular season.
Reduced preseason.
So instead of 4 games, it's going to be 3, possibly 2.
Okay. I would go with 2.
It also goes. It also the owners are given 2 more rosters or 2 more spots on the roster
spots and cap, something about salary cap.
Okay, so it has a higher percentage of player revenue as well.
Okay. And
upgraded pensions for former players.
Okay.
And it eliminates the original $250,000 cap on earnings from the players. So that's going to be removed, and they're actually going to be able to earn more due to the extra games that they're thinking about implementing.
The problem that a lot of the players have is that with this new game, with the extra game added in the regular season, these organizations are going to make billions and billions of dollars because of TV and tickets prices and all that stuff. But the players are only going to make 250,000, maybe more, a little bit more than that. They aren't going to make as much as the organization is. So they're thinking we're going to play this extra game, and really it's the organization benefiting off of it, rather than the players. So that's why a couple of the players out. Aaron Rodgers, quarterback for the Green Bay Packers, is against it. I couldn't remember who. Marquise Pouncey, center for the Steelers, a long time. I don't know if he's still there or not. I know his brother used to be for the Dolphins. I don't know if he's there or not. Both of them spoke out against it. So that's what the players are such. But some players are for it. I wouldn't mind reducing the preseason to 2 games, and then adding 1 game in the regular season. And there was also a new playoff format that they came out with.
Yeah, so with the playoff format, we're now adding 2 additional wildcard games. So it moves from a 12-team field to a 14-team field. And just to give you the news on how this is moving forward, so originally it went through the team owners, and that got approved. Then it went to the NFLPA. They originally rejected the idea on last Friday, 6-5, and then it reopened. They had a sit down at the combine in Indianapolis. They talked with the owners and everything, and so they opened it back up. And moving forward, what's going to happen is they're now going to have every single player have the ability to vote for it.
Yeah.
So I believe they need
they're leaving it up to the hands of the players, basically, because that's what it comes down
votes
to,
or something like that.
Yeah, it's 2,000.
Yeah, so it's really what matters in my opinion.
Yeah, that's what matters. Because the players are the ones that are actually playing the game.
Obviously, the CBA is not as big as it was in 2011 when they were asking the owners and the Roger Goodell was asking for cutbacks. Mm-hmm. It's not like they're taking money. They're actually gaining a little bit more money. They are playing more games, but they're gaining a little bit more money, revenue, and everything. Mm-hmm. So, and that cap's been taken down, so to speak, and it can be increased. So they're not really losing money, but when it comes to help, moving forward with the proposal, it says that the off season will be a little bit more lenient, won't be as pressed. So the players will have that time to be with their families like they would if it were a regular season or previous seasons. And only thing about it really comes down to that extra game or 2 that people could get injured in.
Yeah. And one of the big things that they have is they changed the franchise tag. There would only be one,
and that was
one franchise tag now.
Yeah.
And so a big thing, a team that would really be affected by this right now due to free agency would be the Cowboys, because they have DeMarcus Lawrence, the star DN, under franchise tag now.
Luckily, we don't have to get into that right now, as it's still being passed. There's got to be voted on, so we're not sure how that'll end up. I have a feeling it's probably going to get passed, but you never know. Mm-hmm. But we won't have to deal with that till 2021, which is great because in this free agency that we're about to talk about, we have a lot of talent.
There is a lot of talent. One of the biggest names, Tom Brady.
After 20 years of playing for the Patriots,
the GOAT, Tom Brady, is now free agent, and he is trying to figure out what he is going to do. Some teams that are open for him.
Keep in mind he's 42.
Some teams that I think are under consideration: LA Chargers, the Raiders, the Titans, maybe the Colts, and obviously the Patriots are still in contention, is what I think.
Yeah, so as far as I know about the situation, the number one that everybody's thinking about is him going to Tennessee. So he's going to be, their claim for this is that they're just coming off of an AFC championship. You know, just putting them around some
with that run game, with Derrick Henry and A.J. Brown on the outside, the rookie who had a hell of a season this year. Yeah, that would be good for them, and they got a good defense. They can do their business when they need to,
here's the thing about the whole Tennessee Titans ordeal. I don't believe they really need him.
They have Ryan Tannehill. Tannehill's
Ryan
good.
Tannehill just came off his best season ever as a QB. He had a passing rating of 117.5. And frankly, Tom Brady didn't have that exceptional of a year. It was his worst year in the NFL.
You got to think about who he had around him. He had a bunch of scrubs running. You and me could go out there and just put up.
But
the
they
product
have a quarterback that's actually doing all right.
They do and so
And
I
you're
think
already franchise tagging Derrick Henry. You have to.
franchise him or extend him. You got to do something with him. You got to keep him around.
Because he's in the free agency as well.
Yeah, he is. So you got to do something with him. I think he should go to the LA Chargers. The only problem with him going to the Chargers is that he has to play Patrick Mahomes twice.
They also have to get rid of Phillip Rivers.
They are getting there. Phillip Rivers has already declared he's free agency. He's gone. They aren't. They're looking at maybe drafting Justin Herbert. If they know for sure they're going to get Tom Brady, they're going to draft the offensive tackle out of Alabama. I can't remember his name right now.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
But that's who they're going to draft to help Tom Brady out. The problem with that, obviously, the Patrick Mahomes ordeal, but they got to decide what they want to do with Melvin Gordon, their running back, who is also on free agency.
He is a free agent this year,
and
he's getting up there in age.
So, I think with him, I think he should go to the Texans first off with Deshaun Watson and DeAndre Hopkins and them, and their offensive line's improving. But for Tom Brady to go, for him to go to the Chargers, they still have Austin Eckler, whatever his name is. He can satisfy them in the run game, or they could draft Jonathan Taylor, who was a huge player for Wisconsin last season in the Big Ten, who is the only player ever to rush for 3 2,000-yard seasons. If they could draft him in the second, third round, and that would be he's going to make an impact wherever he goes. It doesn't matter. But for him to back up Austin Eckler and be that power running back that they need, that Melvin Gordon is, that would be a huge help for them and help out with their offensive line. That would be huge.
What we can both agree on is that Phillip Rivers is getting the short end of the stick here.
Absolutely.
And there's a chance. I mean, obviously he'll get picked up, but
I'm thinking Phillip Rivers is going to end up going to the Colts. That's what I'm thinking. The offensive coordinator there, maybe, or the head coach, one of them used to coach in L.A.
Yeah. So
or San Diego when they were the San Diego Chargers. But that's where I think he's going to end up going. They got good defense. They got T.Y. Hilton on the outside.
And then just to close out these options for the Tom Brady ordeal or free agency, the Raiders said they would offer him $60 million for 2 years.
The only reason I don't like the Raiders is because he'd be in basically the same situation he was in New England,
except less of a defense, in my opinion.
Less of a defense. He'd have an extra weapon or two with Josh Jacobs running the ball, and
he's got Hunter Renfrow out there catching. He loves throwing some white boys.
He does like throwing the white boys. That's probably a big recruiting pitch for the LA. We got white boys.
For those who enjoy Tom Brady, but don't enjoy the Patriots, their dream free agency trade would be not that he returns to the Patriots, because obviously they don't really have the money there.
No.
We'll see. He might, but I highly doubt it. To go to the San Francisco 49ers.
Oh, that would be
They
crazy.
want Jimmy G out of there, and they said they're ready for Tom Brady.
Jimmy G, he really disappointed me in that Super Bowl. He really did.
It might have been the Super Bowl
We didn't get to talk about the Super Bowl
season.
on this, by the way. He had a great season.
Started a little late.
But in the playoffs, he did. Well, first off, he didn't have to do anything for him in the playoffs.
Agreed.
But when they needed him most in the Super Bowl, he couldn't produce. I also blame that on coaching, because one of the biggest things that they did, they took Deebo Samuel out of the game in the second half. The 49ers did, and that was huge for them. But that's getting to another topic.
Yeah, so a big reason why they want him in San Fran is that if he's not going to retire, and he wants, 3 or 4 more years in the league, he said he wanted to go till 45. That they get him back home. That's his hometown.
Mm-hmm.
and he can be that hometown hero. And they got the talent there.
He's got
Obviously,
everything.
they just went to the
need.
Super Bowl.
Everything they need.
I mean, he'd definitely make a run there, and if they get to the same position, he'd probably win it. So that's another thing. I don't think that's going to happen.
They
But it is
gave Jimmy
opportunity.
G so much money.
Just a couple more quarterbacks to get into in this free agency. We had Drew Brees. Of course, he's signing
He's going
back. Not retiring, going back to the Saints. That's always good to see.
Yes, sir.
We like us some Drew Brees.
He'll try to get back to the Super Bowl there and finish the job.
Dak Prescott.
Dak Prescott is one of the most interesting situations.
I think they're going to give it. I think they're going to keep him, man.
I heard that Tom Brady might end up going to the Cowboys. And
that's Skip Bayless talking, though, probably.
I think it was Colin Cowherd, man.
Was it?
I don't know his name. Coherd or whatever. I don't know.
Colin Cowherd.
Cowherd. But that would be something if Tom Brady ended up going to the Cowboys.
Yeah. So I'd have more of a hatred for the Cowboys then.
Than ever. As much as I already hate them now.
I think Dallas is going to keep him. I think they're going to franchise tag him. I'll get into why I think that in a minute. But just another quarterback that I think is going unnoticed who had a decent year this year is Teddy Bridgewater.
Mm-hmm.
So Teddy Bridgewater has had that starting position before there in Minnesota Vikings, for the Minnesota Vikings. And then he got moved to the Saints.
Yeah.
And he's been playing behind
Drew Brees.
Came
in and went, 5-1?
He went 5-0.
5-0?
So he's coming off an undefeated season himself as starter.
Basically.
I mean, he was putting in good amounts
There's
of time.
going to be a lot of teams looking for him.
I think so, too, especially with that mobility that he has as well. I mean, not the most mobile, but he's got an arm.
He can get it done. Yeah. He can get it done.
And obviously you can see that he wins.
Mm-hmm.
So if you just put a team behind him, I think he'll be able to really start leading the team on his own back again.
Other big name quarterbacks, Marcus Mariota.
Is he really?
Jameis Winston, both of them. They
Winston.
came in together, back-to-back picks in, 2013 draft maybe?
Yeah, so the Bucs have an interesting situation going on as well. So they can either franchise tag Jameis Winston, who went 30-30, interception and touchdown. Or they can get Shaquille Barrett, who is the NFL's leading defensive lineman in sacks.
Yeah, I think I know who they're going to keep.
Sources say Jameis. They really do. I don't see how you would pick Jameis over a D lineman that's just
you can start
leading the league.
There's so many let's take this for example.
Well, if it was up to the coach, I believe they're not picking Jameis.
No.
But
so Jameis Winston, let's say he goes to somewhere like the Bears or something. Who's also trying to decide what they want to do with quarterback with Mitchell Trubisky. They're also in the running for Marcus Mariota, but what if the Bucs got rid of Winston and picked up Teddy Bridgewater and had him as a placeholder until later on down the line with some other guy, some big quarterback coming out of college that way, and then have somebody be groomed under Teddy Bridgewater with what he knows and with his athleticism at quarterback, and with the new quarterbacks coming in. I mean, I feel like that would be a good idea. But and the Bucs are coming. They need pieces. But their defense. You said they got the defense leader in sacks. I mean, they aren't terrible. Jameis Winston throwing 30 interceptions helped them be terrible. But it's just people like that. Marcus Mariota, I don't know what's going to happen with him. I heard talks to the Bears, him being a backup to Mitchell Trubisky, and if Trubisky doesn't pan out this year, they'll throw Mariota in there, since they basically run the same. They're basically the same quarterback. They have the same skill sets and everything.
So moving on to some running backs. I think everybody's going to keep their running backs for the most part.
Derrick Henry will get re-signed. Melvin Gordon is the big.
He's the questionable one.
I heard Texans. Obviously the Chargers. If the Chargers re-sign Melvin Gordon, and that's huge for whoever's going to end up being their quarterback.
I think Kenyon Drake's going to stay.
Yeah, he'll stay. He got traded.
Carlos Hyde.
Where did Kenyon Drake get traded? Where did he get traded? He was with the Dolphins, but he got traded somewhere. He is with the Cardinals. Cardinals
So
now.
with the
Kyler
Cardinals.
Murray out there, so they'll be all right.
Carlos
They'll
Hyde,
sign him.
he's probably going to get traded. I mean, he's going through his later years. You got LaShawn McCoy, Ty Montgomery. Just a bunch of guys that are getting kind of up in age.
Yeah.
Were all right. Lamar Miller, Jordan Howard.
Yeah. People
Moving
like that.
into some really questionable situations in the free agency, in the wide receiver core.
AJ Green is probably the biggest, one of the bigger names.
Amari Cooper is the situation
Amari
I
Cooper.
want to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
So, you have a Dak Prescott, your main quarterback,
Mm-hmm.
and then you just picked up a really, really consistent wide receiver from 17 months ago, and Amari Cooper.
And now they're not even talking about re-signing him. I don't understand.
So the situation they're in, I mean, there's a lot of money that goes into having both of these dudes on the team.
And Amari Cooper's one of the better in the league. I would put him
He's
as a tier 2.
Tier
receiver.
2 type guy.
He's a number 1 receiver, but a tier 2 receiver.
Absolutely. So there's a possibility we won't see him in Dallas next year. If they can shell out the money, they'll keep him. But that's just something we'll have to see about.
That's the problem with paying Dak Prescott is you don't have the money to pay. Because with Dak Prescott, he wants to reset the market. And with that, they aren't going to have the money to sign.
Who's asking for more?
To re-sign all the talent that they have right now to win a Super Bowl. He wanted, what, $36 million or something like that? And they offered him like $30 million or something like that. And he didn't want it. And I don't understand that. I wish somebody would offer me $30 million a year. That should be
31-year-old AJ Green's up for grabs. I think the Bengals are going to try and keep him. But
with Joe Burrow, they're going to end up getting,
probably more than likely Joe Burrow. Even with his small hands, you know.
Yeah, his baby hand Burrow.
Yeah.
He might not make it. I heard he was considering retirement.
Yeah, I mean, the sources say that he put a post out on Twitter that that he was retiring. However, I think Patrick Mahomes came in and saved the day.
Yeah.
And he was just like, well, I mean, my baby hands got me this far. So.
Yeah. He said, I'm doing fine with my baby hands.
But just some other guys to really talk about. We have Robbie Anderson, who had a really good year with the Jets.
Yep.
A bunch of older fellas in Randall Cobb, Nelson Aguilar, Emmanuel Sanders,
Josh Gordon,
Jarius Rice, Devin Funchess. But also, some people don't talk about is Larry Fitzgerald.
He signed back with the Cardinals, didn't
Of course, he well, I don't know if he signed back with them.
Or he said he planned to.
But obviously, I think he's going to go into retirement here soon, if not this year.
No, he said he was coming back for this season.
Did he? So we'll probably see a retirement at the end of the year, more than likely. Actually, a couple retirements. But we'll get into that eventually.
Also, the Redskins are making moves. You got Austin Hooper, the tight end from Atlanta, who's probably going to end up going there.
Didn't keep for some unknown reason.
Yeah. The Falcons got all kind. Their organization is all messed up.
They didn't have the money there or something. And
Stephon Diggs is also a target they're looking for to get traded. People like that. I mean, in the rest, they're looking to draft Chase Young. They're at the second pick, so they're looking to make moves to really improve their team within the next couple years. Tight ends Greg Olsen just signed with the Seahawks.
Yeah, I saw that. So,
XFL commentator Greg Olsen.
Yeah, I hope after a year or two he goes back to the XFL.
I hope he does too. He's a good
I like hearing him talk.
commentator.
Especially as a Carolina Panthers fan.
Yeah, we miss him as a Panthers fan.
So, getting into those edge defenders, D-lineman / linebacker situations, we have a deep roster.
Real deep. Vic Beasley, start off. I mean, the Falcons, they aren't planning to re-sign him. It's interesting out of Clemson where he's going to end up going. I thought he had a lot more talent than what he showed. Or I think he has a lot more talent
I
than what
really
he
think
showed
the
in Atlanta.
Falcons, like their offense is just confused right now.
Yeah, they're all kinds of their organization. I think they're attempting to rebuild, but not rebuild at the same time.
I
Like
just don't understand.
it's just confusing.
But you also got Barrett that we talked about from the Bucks.
And
Sorry, from the
Armstead.
Bucks.
Yeah, oh yeah, Shaquille Barrett. Armstead from the 49ers, who was one of their sack leaders, I think.
And then
Jadeveon
Jadeveon Clowney.
It's interesting to see what's going to happen with him. Just traded to the Seahawks this year. I'm assuming they're looking to re-sign him. I've heard Raiders looking in at him. I've heard Panthers actually looking in at him.
Saw a little bit about that.
But yeah, teams like that. That's what's so good about free agency. You don't know until they sign like that. That's one of the great
really.
things.
But just to go through the rest of these, just to shout out some names: Dante Fowler Jr. He's really young. Everson Griffin had a couple good years. Jason Pierre-Paul's really getting up there in age now.
Robert Quinn,
also kind of older, and Jamie Collins.
Yeah.
Skipping the linebackers.
There aren't really any big names.
And the cornerbacks. Not too many big names. There's some good skill in there. Also with the safeties, there's some good skill. But for the most part,
that really rounds out free agency.
Really,
it's not really big names.
Nothing really impactful.
Byron Jones is interesting to see what the Cowboys are going to do with him. Ronald Darby from the Eagles, who didn't have that great of a season. Looking forward to see what they're going to do with him. Eli Apple for the New Orleans Saints. They need that. Of course, they have Marshawn Lattimore, him. So it'll just be interesting where some of these corners end up going. Darius Slay from the Lions is probably going to end up getting traded because they're looking for any kind of draft stock they can get. They're in a rebuilding phase. Other teams like these superstar corners, it's tough for them. Like I feel like Stephon Gilmore's made a home in New England. That defense is going to be nasty no matter who they have running the ship there at quarterback. Their defense is going to be tough to score on. They've invested Bill Belichick's invested a lot of money in that defense. South Carolina. Stephon Gilmore's from South Carolina.
Yeah, so there's a lot of skill coming out of our home state.
Yeah. Which is great.
You have people like Jadeveon Clowney, like you mentioned.
Deshaun Watson, who's from Georgia, but Clemson, who's in South Carolina. DeAndre Hopkins.
One of the best receivers, if not the best. Stephon Gilmore, Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah. I mean, they're just all over the
South
place.
Carolina.
You got Zion Williamson, who's making a huge statement in the NBA right now.
Absolutely. Him and Ja Morant are
Ja
both
Morant.
from South Carolina. And just to go into a little bit more about that, we actually tried to bomb our basketball season so that we could play Zion Williamson in the state playoffs. So, obviously, his team was the best or second best in the league at the time. And we were towards the...
We were the bottom.
We were the bottom.
We were near the bottom.
So we had a chance to either be the worst team or the second to last team. And we thought the Spartanburg Day Christian team was first. So we bombed the last seed
bombed the last game thinking we were going to end up playing them, and it just didn't end up happening.
But just being able to watch a guy that came from small town Skeeza
that we played in, which is crazy.
Now seeing them just bully kids the same way in the NFL.
In the NBA.
Or in the NBA.
His last 5 games, this is his points, the last 5 games. 31, 32, 25, 28, and 29. That's crazy. He is balling right now. That's Zion, balling in the NBA. Ja Morant, he's probably going to win Rookie of the Year. The only reason...
Crazy good.
Yeah, the only reason Zion ain't going to win is because Ja Morant's played a lot more games than him. Zion missed like 6 weeks maybe in the NBA, or it might be 6 weeks, something like that. But so yeah, I mean Ja Morant, either one of them's gonna win the Rookie of the Year, and they're from South Carolina. which is huge for the NBA. Both of them are in the playoff race right now. They're fighting for that 8 seed in the West right now. The Grizzlies have it right now. They have the 8 seed now, but the Pelicans are creeping up, along with the Trailblazers, Portland, with Damian Lillard, C.J. McCollum, Hassan Whiteside out there balling. The Bucks right now with Giannis, the MVP favorite. They're leading the East. Lakers, obviously. LeBron, AD, who just beat the Pelicans Tuesday night. And LeBron dropped a career-high 40 points. They are top of the West right now, followed by the Denver Nuggets and the LA Clippers with Kawhi and Paul George, who are struggling a little bit. Yeah, NBA getting down to nitty-gritty where they got to start winning games. NCAA basketball, they're getting there. About to start conference tournaments here in a couple weeks. Excited for that. Duke is looking good. They did drop a game the other night to Wake Forest, which in double overtime. They had two of their big men foul out, Vernon Carey and Wendell Carter, something like that. They fouled out, but NCAA is looking good. It'll be good to see what ends up happening with the tournaments.
Just getting back into some football news. We have the recap of Week 3
in
the XFL. Just to get into the games a little bit, our first game we had
Houston Roughnecks and Tampa Bay Vipers. Houston ended up winning 34-27. Vipers trying to get stuff together.
Finally getting their offense together.
Finally starting to roll. There, Quentin Flowers had a rushing touchdown that changed the game for him, gave him that momentum.
Speaking of Quentin Flowers,
Come up.
Just breaking news all of a sudden. There's a possibility that he is not on the team anymore. I just found out about that. A fella just texted me not too long ago, our buddy Ian. And
Source via Ian.
Via Ian, that there's talks that Quentin Flowers is not on the team or absent from the practices this week.
He's probably fed up. I would be fed up if I was him.
His fans want it. Everybody else sees
Everybody's
it.
calling
We've caught
for
it
him.
since day one.
He should be the starter, but they got corn dog over there. It's sad that the fans call you corn dog of your own organization, call you corn dog.
Just give the people what they want.
Yeah. Corn dog. Cornelius threw for 193 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Also had a rushing touchdown. Jalen Tolliver, leading receiver, 8 receptions, 140 yards. Safety, Micah Hanneman, number 27, I believe, led the team 7 tackles. Really, with the Vipers, it was their penalties, offensive line, and turnovers. The same thing that's been bothering them all season long. They just hadn't corrected it. And the QB play, they need consistency at the quarterback spot. And that's going to be a big thing for them because that's what most teams have is consistency at the quarterback spot.
Something you don't have with the Houston Roughnecks.
The only other team you see that with is the Guardians, and you see how they've been playing. They've been terrible with problems at the QB position. Those two are the only teams in the XFL right now with quarterback problems.
But just getting into the Houston Roughnecks performance against the Vipers. Obviously, P.J. Walker.
Obviously,
put out
Cam
again.
Phillips. I mean, you know that connection is huge.
You're back-to-back
hat tricks.
Back-to-back XFL.
Star of the week?
Star of the week.
That's great.
The Houston Roughnecks now have all 3
of the Star of the Weeks.
XFL Star
That's
of the
crazy.
Weeks.
P.J. Walker, 306 yards, 3 touchdowns. Also added a rushing touchdown. Cam Phillips, 8 receptions, 194 yards, 3 touchdowns.
Absolutely
outrageous. Back-to-back hat tricks. I mean, I don't believe they had any turnovers.
I don't think they did.
I don't know if they've had any all year, to be honest with you. They just take care of the football, and that's crazy how they can do that with that June Jones offensive system where it's 5. I mean, they have 4 wide, 5 wide every play. Yeah. They don't have a tight end on the roster. So it's tough for them. When they run the ball, they use the pass game to open up the run game, spread everybody out. Defensive back, Dedrick Nichols, 9 tackles for the Roughnecks. What we expected Houston would win.
Absolutely.
We didn't expect Tampa Bay to put up the fight that they did.
No, but
But
it's good to
Houston,
see them kind of get something going for
they
them
are the
once.
only winless team left, which is sad. And they have to play the DC Defenders next. We'll get into them in a minute. Second game, the night game on Saturday, Dallas and Seattle. Dallas ended up winning 24-12. Dallas gave Seattle the game. They had 3 turnovers, I believe. And Seattle just couldn't get it done on offense. That's what killed them. Brandon Silvers, he's had good games, but he just can't get them over the hump get them to win big games. Seattle also couldn't get the running game established. I mean, their running backs didn't rush for over 50 yards. They didn't have one over 50-yard rusher.
All year, though. So that's something that Seattle's going to continue to deal with. I don't think their running back core is really that good. So we'll see moving forward, but I highly doubt it.
Just getting some stats. Brandon Silvers threw 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, also an interception. Austin Proel, big standout from week 1, ended up 6 receptions, 81 yards, and a touchdown. Kenneth Farrow, the running back for Seattle, had a reception touchdown and almost more receiving yards than rushing yards. Steven Johnson, 3rd week in a row, leading the team in tackles. He had 14 tackles.
That is ridiculous.
This week. Dallas, like we said, just turnovers, but they still ended up coming out on top. Landry Jones showing out. 274 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and also a fumble. Cameron Artis-Payne, 80 yards rushing. I mean, they didn't have a big... This was a awkward game because you didn't have a lot of running. There just wasn't a lot of scoring. And it's not like it was a defensive game. It was just the offenses weren't executing.
No, but you still had tight end Donald Parham.
Yeah, he went off again.
Of course.
2 more touchdown receptions of 5 catches.
And if you've been following our Twitter account, you saw the poll between the 2 duos of the 2 elite duos of the XFL right now. And go and vote if you follow us, and if you don't follow us, follow us at _ups.
There we go.
And vote either for the Landry Jones and Donald Parham duo or Phillip Walker and Cam Phillips.
Yeah. I mean, both of them are pretty much. I mean,
just
back-to-back
outstanding.
Weeks, you've seen them. They're
Multiple
both going,
touchdowns between each of them continuously throughout each week. So
Asante Brown, linebacker, led Dallas in tackles. Also, Seattle, their defensive back, Godwin Igwebuike, 7 tackles and the first interception of his season.
Moving into our 3rd game, the first game on Sunday, we had the New York Guardians versus the St. Louis Battlehawks.
Sunday was a boring day of XFL football. I'll admit this is the first boring day of XFL football because they were both blowouts. And
Both
it was
blowouts.
not fun.
Not for us, at least.
Not fun for us.
So St. Louis Battlehawks won 29-9 against the Guardians.
Guardians just looked shot again offensively. I mean,
they can't put up points.
They can't. Not with
See
Matt
that
McGloin
week in
at
and week
quarterback. Matt McGloin ended up going out with a rib injury early in the game. 84 yards and an interception. Ended up going out. All 3 QBs on the New York Guardians roster ended up playing.
Yeah, so they had Marquise Williams in there.
He played most of the game.
And also Luis Perez. I mean, they tried everything, and they just really couldn't get the ball going.
I think they need to give Luis Perez a shot.
I think so, too. He was extremely good in D2.
He won defensive. I mean, the D2 offensive player of the year, or player of the year, not offensive, but player.
He won it multiple times. But we'll see what they do about that situation moving forward, especially with McGloin kind of day by day right now.
Rotimi again, 7 tackles, led the team. Also, DB Ranthony Texada, 6 tackles and 1 sack as a DB. That's pretty good. The Battlehawks, Will Hill led the team in tackles for the 2nd week, 9, along with Dexter McCoy, another safety. So both their safeties had 9 tackles.
So their defense is just really gradually improving a lot week by week.
DC, they couldn't get the. It's like they just couldn't do anything on offense. Seattle just shut them down. They shut down the run game and the passing game. It's like they couldn't move the ball at all. Um,
They also have Matt Jones.
yeah,
Battlehawks have Matt Jones, leading rusher.
Yep,
in the
15 carries.
XFL.
Yep, leading rusher in the XFL. 15 carries, 95 yards, and a touchdown. Christine Michael, the other running back, 13 carries, 44 yards, and a touchdown. So, I mean, Jordan Tiama didn't even have to have that good of a game. The Guardians' defense, it's like the whole team, they just didn't show up. They didn't want to play because their defense sure couldn't stop this Battlehawks run game. Also, I want to point out the kicker for the Battlehawks, Taylor Russolino. 3 for 3. Perfect. 3 for 3 on field goals.
It's crazy.
36 yards, 39 yards, and a whopping 58 yards.
And that's what I mean by crazy. That 58-yarder was something to watch.
And let's get into it. You know, we called it.
We always be predicting everything. I mean, we're just like that.
First kickoff return for a touchdown in the XFL. Your boys called it. We said it would take about 2 weeks for it to happen.
And it took one.
And it ended up happening.
Always.
We got it. Battlehawks. That was their first touchdown of the game, was the kickoff return. This last game
was excruciating for us.
The DC went all the way across the map to battle against LA.
First away game.
First away game of the year. DC slipped up, didn't come prepared to play, ended up losing 39-9 against the Wildcats. Third down efficiency was a big thing here. DC just couldn't capitalize. They were 2 for 13 on third down. LA was 4 for 10, which isn't bad. But
a big factor in that game is quarterback Cardell Jones for the DC Defenders. He played scared. He played like he hadn't touched the ball in years. And he had 4 interceptions.
Worst game of his career. Only 100 yards passing and 4 interceptions. He was sacked 3 times. He just had a bad game. The ground game, though, was rolling.
I don't know if he was just dealing with jet lag.
I don't know
what but
it might have been something about the timing. You know, all the way across. They're like 3 hours behind. That's what it was.
Maybe so, but he's got to come back to this next week.
They'll be good next week.
Fired up, but
Nick Brosette out of LSU was the leading rusher for the DC Defenders, 75 yards and a touchdown. No really other big stats for Thurman led the team in tackles with 6. Just no other big. No, they were kind of like the New York Guardians this week, just didn't come prepared to play.
However, the LA Wildcats did.
Yeah.
And Josh Johnson, their quarterback, who was one of those guys we weren't sure is going to be the starter at the beginning of the season, has solidified that role.
He has, especially after this game.
After this performance, he went 18 for 25, 72 completion percentage, 278 yards, and 3 touchdowns.
3 touchdowns. Trey McBride, 5 catches.
McBride, who was actually in the DC Defenders and LA Wildcats.
Yeah, he was in the trade. For Anthony Johnson. Anthony Johnson. Trey McBride, 5 catches.
Rashad Ross and all them.
And Rashad Ross, yeah. Also in that trade. Trey McBride, 5 catches, 109 yards, 2 touchdowns. Elsa Spruce, another big receiving game for him, 75 yards. Ground game, Martez Carter, I thought was a big candidate for star of the week.
I thought so too.
Because he dominated on the run game. Only had 34 yards, but he had big time rushes to set him on. Or put LA over the top. He had 34 yards and 2 touchdowns. Doing backflips and stuff. Or front flips and backflips. All kinds of
did that.
Crazy stuff. Trey Williams, linebacker for LA.
Out of Auburn.
8 tackles, 1 sack, tackle for loss, tied with Ahmad Dixon, safety, also had 8 tackles. So yeah, DC just didn't come prepared to play.
They looked absolutely terrible.
Yeah, they looked bad. They did look bad. Getting into week 4, first game, LA Wildcats traveled to New York. Face off against the Guardians. I don't know what to expect this game. Normally, I would say that the that New York would handle LA. But the way New York's been playing and the way LA's been playing, it's got me leaning towards LA. I guess it just kind of depends on what New York ends up doing at quarterback, whether they go with Luis Perez or get a game plan together with Marquise Williams. Because Matt McGloin I think he's day to day. They're trying to figure out what they're going to do with him. Josh Johnson really solidified that role, and Moss is really rallying his troops as a head coach, trying to get that defense fired up, ready to come and play. Ground game's looking good. I think I'm gonna go with LA.
Yeah, I'm agree with you on this one. I'm taking LA Wildcats as well. Just with New York and them still trying to find that starting quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
You're going into your 4th week of ball. You should already know this by now.
Consistency's a big,
especially when everybody else already does.
Yeah.
And LA for sure knows that Josh Johnson is that player for them, especially after that great performance he had this past week. I think that's going to really play a big factor in this upcoming game. And LA's defense didn't play too bad this past week, and I think they're going to really shut down that not so hot offense from the New York Guardians.
Second game on that Saturday is going to be the Seattle Dragons going to St. Louis. Face off against the Battlehawks. I'm going to take the Battlehawks. I think it's pretty. I mean,
that's an obvious one.
The Dragons can't get much going on offense. St. Louis, their defense is looking great going against Brandon Silvers. Seattle already can't get that good of a run game going, and going against St. Louis's defense is going to be tough for them. Jordan Ta'amu obviously proven that run game that St. Louis has can carry the load for him. He doesn't even need to drop back and score 4 touchdowns like he did 2 weeks ago in order for them to win. But yeah, I'm gonna take St. Louis to win this one.
Yeah, St. Louis for sure, especially with the ground game that we were talking about, and how poorly Seattle's been playing week in and week out. And how they can't find the red zone or the end zone.
The end zone. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it'll be tough. It'll be an interesting matchup. Game of the week, right?
The Wash-Ups XFL game of the week.
Houston Roughnecks travel to Dallas to take on the Renegades. Who you gonna go with?
All right, so I'm gonna go for the underdog on this one.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with Dallas Renegades.
All right.
Over the Houston Roughnecks. It's one of those games that I really can't. I didn't really want to go with the underdog here, especially after such great performances by Houston. But they allowed so many points from Tampa Bay. And Dallas Renegades have a really consistent offense, really good offense now that Landry Jones has been back for 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Landry Jones did have a lot of turnovers, but I don't think he's going to have that in a game where it really matters.
Yeah.
I think they're going to really come out. Cameron Artis-Payne's going to run the ball heavy. I think Parham, they're going to try and shut him down, and they're going to leave a lot of open receivers.
The outside game is going to be big for them, and turnovers is what is really going to have to come down for Dallas. So turnovers are going to win this game, and if they are able to cover the outside with Houston, if their DBs can play, if Dallas's DBs can play stout on the outside, they'll win, but I don't think they're going to be able to.
So who you got?
I'm going to roll with Houston again. P.J. Walker, I mean, he's just a star. Cam Phillips is a star. I mean, they've got other guys that haven't even gotten involved yet because they haven't had to. Sammy Coates is another big name. Butler, running back, who rushed for 70 yards last game. Didn't find the end zone because P.J. Walker's back there tossing up, doing Patrick Mahomes type stuff, throwing to Cam Phillips. So I'm going to take Houston on the road here. I think it'll be a solid win for them. The last game, another big game here is DC Defenders traveling to Tampa Bay, take on the Vipers. It's a bounce back game for both teams as they both suffered a loss last week. It's tough because seeing DC on the road, I was not impressed with them. They didn't look like they would come ready to play, but I think they're going to be fired up and come right at this Tampa Bay team, especially with them having problems at quarterback, like you stated. I just don't see Tampa Bay moving forward without a solid quarterback. I mean, do we have a projection on when Aaron Murray should be back?
I think he's going to be back within a week or two. I don't think he's going to be ready to play this Sunday. So that's going to be a major factor in this game. I'm going to take DC as well.
Yeah.
I think that when it comes down to it, this is a game where you need to just get your hands dirty and just really fight through the loss. I think now that they got punched in the mouth a little bit last week, the DC defenders are going to come back with that fire lit underneath them. And they're going to perform like how they're known to perform. And I don't think Tampa Bay is going to be in a situation where they're ready to just kind of fire it back up, especially now that they have the Quentin Flowers question out there. I don't think the fans are going to be behind it if Quentin Flowers leaves because of the head coach. And I don't think the players in the locker room are going to be behind that, especially with an injured Aaron Murray that's not going to be able to pull his team together.
Right.
So we'll see what happens there. I don't think Tampa Bay is going to perform. I think they're going to be a head case. I think that although they played a decent offensive game last week, they're not going to have that same thing, especially behind old corn dog back there. I'm taking the DC defenders. Cardell got to get his head back together.
DC's defensive line is something serious, and with the problems that Tampa Bay has on their offensive line, it's just going to be a nightmare, I think, for corn dog, Quentin Flowers, Aaron Murray, whoever's back there. I mean, with that defensive line, it's going to be tough to block all them guys. Yeah, so we're both riding with DC for the end of week 4.
So what we're trying to do, we talked about some ideas that we had in mind down the road. So just to get into something that's going to be happening this weekend, me and Jackson are going to be hitting the road. Do a little road trip down
in Columbia.
Columbia.
Good old Cola.
We're going to be down in Columbia, South Carolina this weekend for the rivalry match between
the Clemson Tigers
and the South Carolina Gamecocks.
Be there for that Saturday game.
Baseball game.
Baseball.
Finally get to watch one in person, so that'll be a good time. Also, getting closer to this March Madness tournament, we're going to go ahead and announce
the Wash Up's first annual March Madness Tournament Bracket Challenge. And we are beyond excited about this because March Madness is obviously something that brackets are something we've enjoyed doing all throughout.
I mean, we've done it since probably middle school. And just something y'all can get really interested in and also be able to kind of get into touch with us a little more other than the podcast and the Twitter and whatnot. So you'll be able to actually join that with us.
Absolutely.
Right now, I don't think we're going to put a price on it until we see how many people we get in there. And then we might place an entry fee in just to get a little award going. And if not, we'll have something for someone at the end.
We might end up having the winner come on and be a guest on the show or something like that. You never know.
Or just send you something. We'll let you know for sure. But that's definitely something y'all should be looking into. It's something we are really, really excited about. Just to let you know something that we are planning to do. And just so you know, give a shout out to my boy Jackson Wolf. Hit him up on Twitter. You'll see him. But it's his birthday today.
Oh, man. Oh, that's sweet. I appreciate it, man.
Absolutely, man.
I appreciate it. God.
So just give him a shout out.
This is the bond.
See him in the street. Let him know. I mean, it's not just
catch me in the streets.
It's just not his birthday. It's his birthday week. You already know how we do down here in Charleston. We're gonna bring it to Cola too. So you see us in Cola, you see us in Charleston. You see
dap us up. Dap us up.
Hey, let us know something. Make sure you celebrate with us. So big weekend for us. Even though the sports world isn't really there's not much going on in the sports world.
We keep it live.
So make sure you like, comment, and subscribe.
Spread the word.
Again, spread the word. That's what we're big about. We want more followers.
It's all about the culture of the Wash Ups podcast.
The culture. If you have any questions you want to ask us, we'll get back to you. Have anything you want to see on the next podcast or in a few podcasts.
To our younger bro, Trent Johnson, on suggested topics this week.
Yeah, so we tried to implement that into the podcast as well. So you see we can do it.
We're all about the fans. We're appreciative of
all
our
about
fans,
y'all.
of our listeners, and just keep supporting.
And get in touch with us.
We're gonna keep giving y'all feedback and we're gonna give the people what they want, and that is more wash-ups.
We enjoy hearing what y'all have to say.
We do.
So,
with that in mind, this will conclude the 4th episode of the Wash Ups podcast. I'm your host, Jackson Wolf.
And I'm your co-host, Garrett Collins. And from the boys in Charleston, we out here.
We outie. We outie.
All right, let's go celebrate.
Let's go.
We got some partying to do.